Joseon dynasty of Korea, the King 𝐫𝐸 is viewed as overly deferential to the nearby Qing dynasty of China. His crown prince 𝐫𝐸 wanted to free the country, so he decided to buy weapons from the west behind his father's back. The plot was exposed by a corrupted war minister, 𝐫𝐸, who holds influence over the king. Watching his soldiers getting tortured made 𝐫𝐸 confess with his father. His father is really angry, and then the crown prince takes his own life as penance so that his subordinates will be spared. After his death, 𝐫𝐸 quickly found the ship with the weapons, but this ship is also carrying a disease, which is similar to zombies, but they call it the night demon for one reason, you will find out later. A Joseon soldier, while inspecting the ship, was unfortunately bitten by a night demon. He returned to his village 𝐫𝐸 the next morning, pale and hungry. That night, the soldier fell ill, transformed into a night demon, and ate his child. The wife did not know at this time. When she returned to the room, witnessed the horror scene, did not have time to escape. The disease began to spread throughout the village. Previously, in order to preserve relations with the Qing dynasty, King 𝐫𝐸 sent his second son, Prince 𝐿𝐸, to China as a hostage. After more than a decade, the young man suddenly received bad news, immediately sailed back to his hometown, fulfilling the will left by his brother, which was to bring the crown prince's wife, 𝐸 and his unborn child to China to ensure their safety. 𝐿𝐸 accompanies his trusted subordinate 𝐫𝐞, stopping at 𝐫𝐸 village. Here, the two are surprised to see the desolate scene. There is no one here. Going deeper into the village, burned bodies were scattered. Wondering what was going on, a group of soldiers on horseback ran up from nowhere, claiming to be from the palace to pick up 𝐿𝐸 back to the capital. However, 𝐿𝐸 is not an easy person to be fooled. It realizes something is shady about this group of people. Knowing that they could not fool 𝐿𝐸, the assassins rushed to attack him. The two sides clashed fiercely. The noise of the battle was followed by the attack of the night demons, who rushed to bite the assassins. Fortunately, 𝐿𝐸 and 𝐫𝐞 were rescued by a trusted subordinate who used to follow 𝐿𝐸, 𝐵 and his sister, archer 𝐫𝐸, a group of 𝐫𝐸 villagers under Manbo's lead and monk 𝐷𝐸. They took 𝐿𝐸 to the shelter of the survivors and told him about the mysterious disease called night demons. The victims who get bitten will gradually go crazy and start killing everyone around them, but these monsters are afraid of the light, so they only go out at night. The only way to kill a night demon is to pierce their heart or cut off their head, then burn the corpse to ashes so that they cannot come back to life. 𝐵 and his team wanted 𝐿𝐸 to become the crown prince to succeed his brother, but he refused. After many years as a hostage, living in the Qing capital in China, 𝐿𝐸 seemed to accept being excluded from the succession. He himself did not want to be king. The only reason why he returned was to fulfill his brother's wish. Knowing that his advice would not shake 𝐿𝐸's head, 𝐵 and his group asked 𝐿𝐸 when they returned to the palace, reported to the king and asked him to leave the army to help the poor people of 𝐫𝐸 fight the night demon. 𝐿𝐸 agreed. The only survivor who was sent by 𝐫𝐸 to assassinate 𝐿𝐸 returned and reported that he had completed the mission, now expecting the promised reward. Contrary to the dude's wishes, when 𝐫𝐸 learned that he was bitten by a night demon, 𝐫𝐸 tricked to lock him in the basement. Not stopping there, 𝐫𝐸 asks his ally, one of the king's concubines, 𝐸, to whisper lies in the king's ear, causing the king to order the arrest of crown princess's wife 𝐸 and lock her up without food or drink. 𝐫𝐸 knew about the night demon disease a long time ago, so he made a tacit calculation. He arranged to meet 𝐸 late at night, then set a trap and locked her in a room with the assassin who had now turned into a night demon, causing her to be bitten and infected. The next morning, during the king's rectory, sitting below, 𝐸's face was pale, coughing up blood. Black veins of blood began to be imprinted on her skin. She fell to the ground and convulsed in front of everyone's surprise. 𝐸 walked crookedly, her white eyes were lifeless. Now she had completely transformed into a night demon, then suddenly bared her sharp teeth, rushed to attack and bit the king's hand, and it was stopped by one of the soldiers. Meanwhile, 𝐿𝐸 is flirting with 𝐷𝐸 by asking her if she wants to go to China to get rid of the night demons and enjoy a happy life with him. But 𝐷𝐸 didn't seem to care about it. She even showed her disdain, disgusted with 𝐿𝐸 and thought he was not worthy to be the prince of Joseon. Knowing that 𝐿𝐸 was about to leave, 𝐵 and his group asked to follow 𝐿𝐸 back to the palace, to tell the king themselves and also to protect 𝐿𝐸's safe return to the capital. Realizing this might be an opportunity to get close to 𝐷𝐸, 𝐿𝐸 ignores 𝐫𝐞's dissuades and agrees to let them go along, on one condition: if he succeeds in convincing the king to help, 𝐷𝐸 must follow him back to Qing. The group went to Yangwajan, where 𝐿𝐸 was welcomed by the bodyguard Du Hyung-soo, who had previously escorted him when he left Joseon for the Qing dynasty. Hyung-soo is a righteous person. Although 𝐿𝐸 said all his words, he still did not agree to let 𝐵 and the group of people get on the boat. because there was an order to isolate 𝐦𝐸 village due to the epidemic. After all, the group had to split into two ways. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 and 𝐸𝐸 group of 4 stayed here to wait for news, and 𝐿eecheng returned to the palace alone. Seeing off the prince on the road, 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 told him to watch out for 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬, because it was this cunning minister who was the mastermind of the death of Crown Prince 𝐿eecheng. 𝐿eecheng returned to the palace to meet his father. He told the king about the Joseon people that are threatened by the night demon species. Strangely, the court did not take any action, the minister suggesting that the night devil was just a rumor spread by the rebels in 𝐦𝐸. The king is still skeptical, initially agreeing to let 𝐿eecheng go out to quell the rebellion, but after listening to the instigation of the war minister and others, he revoked the edict. 𝐿eecheng had just arrived at the palace to talk to Kyungbin. She didn't want to leave. 𝐿eecheng then remembered about his brother and the will to help Joseon free from the Qing dynasty. Later, he received bad news from 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 himself. He said that 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬's group had been arrested and taken to prison on charges of treason. Kyungbin was ordered to attend the reception for the visiting Qingguo delegation tonight. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 also threatens 𝐿eecheng. He will return to China if he is wise. Kim will chant love and spare him a life. Before leaving, he did not forget to reveal to him that the king was bitten and being transformed into a night demon, making the prince suddenly realize that his brother's death and the zombie apocalypse were both by 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬. The sun gradually disappeared from the mountain. A guard and a palace maid were secretly having some fun. Suddenly out of nowhere a night demon rushed to attack them. Then from there, the night demon spread everywhere. Contrary to the chaotic scene with the bloodthirsty night demons frantically slaughtering in the palace, at this time, in the forest, the banquet for the emissary of the Qing is taking place very elegantly. Everyone is enjoying beautiful dances. Only 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬, his face showed a calculating, deep look as if waiting for something. King Li-Jo was now completely transformed into a night demon. He staggered to his feet, bared his fangs, and charged at the dancing dancer, to the surprise and dissuade of his courtiers. Knowing that it was time to strike, 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 used a sword to pierce the heart to kill the king. 𝐿eecheng ran over and witnessed it all. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 looked at him with challenging eyes. The ambassador of the Qing dynasty said that this action of 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 was treason and even threatened to bring this matter back to the Qing's king. In response to that, 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 leisurely said that the Joseon kingdom had fallen. He officially established a new dynasty that did not depend on the Qing. At the same time, the night demons from the palace smelled the blood, so they rushed over. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 soon had a defense plan, letting his soldiers use guns that were previously obtained from the European ship to fight with the demons. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 and his allies ran to a shelter. However, knowing that 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 had been bitten, his allies intended to rebel, but 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 drew his sword, killed all his subordinates, then cut off his own hand to slow the infection process and then put on the king's uniform, claiming to be the king. As for 𝐿eecheng, regaining his composure after the death of his father, he rushed to kill the night demons and protect Kyungbin. He runs with her and 𝐸𝐸𝐚 to the prison, rescuing 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 and his group. Here, the group was hunted by a night demon army, and narrowly escaped death. Outside, the Imperial Guard is also fighting heroically, preventing the night demons from escaping the palace and spreading to the whole country. After a terrible night, the sun just came out. The night demons immediately looked for a dark place to hide. Taking advantage of that, 𝐿eecheng and his teammates had time to find a way to turn the situation around. The guards group set off to Yangwajan, mobilizing soldiers to help. Meanwhile, 𝐿eecheng intends to gather the survivors on a boat to the Qing dynasty. However, Kyungbin and the others did not have the heart to leave Joseon. She persuaded 𝐿eecheng to stay and fight to protect the people. Unable to turn a blind eye, 𝐿eecheng agreed. The group plans to attract the night demons at the main hall, then blow up the place. Before doing so, they went together to the Prime Minister's residence with the purpose of finding gunpowder and remaining bombs. Here, 𝐿eecheng and 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐻𝐬𝐬 meet 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 and the night demons and have to fight them. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 is now half transformed into a night demon, so no matter how many he gets hit, he can't be destroyed. This forced them to retreat. However, 𝐸𝐸𝐚, in order to save his 𝐿eecheng's, was captured and killed by 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬𝐬. At the main hall, Manbo, to save Kyungbin and the others, also sacrificed himself to the night demon and asked to die as a human under the blade of Monk Dae-gil. It was getting dark. Knowing that he had been bitten and was about to become a night demon, 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐻𝐬𝐬 took on the task of staying behind to attract the night demons to come and light a fire. Before everyone left, 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐻𝐬𝐬 told 𝐿eecheng that he knew he didn't want to be king at all, but he was the only one who would listen and help them, the people of Joseon, so in his eyes 𝐿eecheng is a true king. Even if he dies, he has no regrets. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐻𝐬𝐬 stayed behind to beat the drums, attracting the night demons to come. He used the last of his strength to light the fire. The fire began to spread gradually, suddenly extinguished by the appearance of 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐻𝐬𝐬. In a barbaric half-human, half-demonic form, he killed 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬, then sat on the throne, surrounded by a bunch of night demons. 𝐦𝐨𝐸𝐞 seemed to know something was wrong, arranged the safety of his sister-in-law and subordinates, and returned to the main hall alone. Crossing the road full of night demons, 𝐦𝐸𝐞 hugged the dying 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬. He told 𝐦𝐸𝐞 to go back, because only if there is a king, there will be the people. 𝐦𝐸𝐞 ignored. One hand he knocked on the drums, alerting the night demons to come, one hand holding a sword to kill them, although he tried very hard to use the sword to create sparks, but it was quickly extinguished by the night demons. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 sat on the throne to witness everything. He slowly came down to fight 𝐦𝐸𝐞. Fighting for a while, 𝐦𝐸𝐞 was somewhat exhausted. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚 and the others waiting outside did not see any sign. She couldn't wait anymore, climbed on the tile roof nearby, found a convenient location, raised a bow and fired a flaming arrow to support 𝐦𝐸𝐞. The first arrow failed. On the second, she aimed with all her strength, and indeed hit. The flaming arrow flew from the outside straight into the pillar inside the shrine. Realizing the opportunity came, the prince quickly used the air gun, took the arrow and dropped it. The fire burned the night demons to death. 𝐦𝐸𝐞 was about to leave from the roof of the hall, but 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚 caught up with him. The two rushed into the battle for survival, each sword slashed like lightning. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚 watched from afar but couldn't help but feel anxious and worried. In the end, 𝐫𝐞𝐜 caught 𝐦𝐸𝐞 and strangled him. Fortunately, the fire underneath the great hall flared up. Taking that opportunity, 𝐦𝐸𝐞 counterattacked, using all his strength to stab a fatal sword and push 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚 down into the sea of fire, while he clung to the rafters, narrowly winning. At this moment, the reinforcement troops also arrived, and they quickly destroyed the remaining night demons. 𝐦𝐸𝐞 looked at the army in front of him and burst into tears. He realized the meaning of a king. Not like 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐚𝐩𝐬 said, there's a king, there will be the people. It must be the other way around. If there are people, then there will be a king. Even though the country of Joseon is ruined, thanks to the strength of its people, there is still hope. From an exiled prince with an extravagant and arrogant personality, it was the people of Joseon who inspired him, making him give up his intention to return to comfort and peace, determined to stay with them to help build the Joseon country. In the village of Jamalpo, where the poor people are fighting day and night for their life with the night demons, suddenly they saw the light of fire moving in the distance. It was the army led by 𝐦𝐸𝐞, marching here to save them, fulfilling the promise he had told them earlier. And that was the movie. I hope you enjoyed.
We hope you enjoyed the video as much as we did. If you have movie recommendations, please let us know in the comment sections and we'd gladly feature them for you. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you and see you again soon.